that he's certified that sewage can be sprayed on it. And this is a copy, not part of it. I bought 100 acres out there. Now that little spot he's got that joins my road, I own that. And Gary that used to own that bought that from me, I told him I didn't want to sell no land. But his fence line bordered mine. And I could see the blacktop road where you seen the blacktop road on there where it was water that dripped down on the asphalt. And I told him, no, I don't care anything about selling. And then I got thinking, I've got to drive all the way from his line and my line on that side of his, where his land is going my land. I've got to drive another mile around and then hit Shepherd Hall Road and then come back around and then come out where I can almost throw a lot like a road. So eventually I told him, I said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll sell you 34 acres if you'll give me a right of way to get from my fence through a 24-inch opening to 79 highway, straight on you already had a gravel road there that went to the village that was next to my property line. And so he agreed. So I gave him an opening to come in at a big oak tree is the corner, and then 24 foot over where we cut a fence with a steel stake that's sticking up. And he bought 34 acres from you can't see it from there, but I'll have the district attorney, assistant district attorney show you this, where you can see where my road is. These little check marks right here, out of 30-something acres, I own everything here. This is where I sprayed it, right here. And the road that you've seen, can you put them pictures up where I can describe where the road, where the boundary?
Mr. Miller, she's not required to assist you in your putting on your proof. You can have if you want to see them, let me see the
Just the pictures is all I need.
Well, I'll give you the pictures that have been made in exhibit.
That's okay. That's
There they are, if you want to look at those and find out what it is that you can talk to the jury about.
So I need for the jury can see exactly what's going on instead of what somebody is saying. To get back to this land, while I'm looking for this, that soil science, everything has got to be perfect. 300 feet from another person's boundary is land. 100 foot from a ditch. There are certain limitations where he can put the boundary. You cannot put anything within these things that are itemized. And like this road, that road is not his. That road belongs to me. And I gave Gary just access to come through the gate. And that road belongs to me, the whole 24 foot. And I own it. When I gave him that 34 acres or so to him, He had 34 acres, as he come in that gate, to put him a road anywhere he wanted. But he didn't, he sold them the first 2 lots. And 2 garages built there, they belonged to 2 individuals. And the other 2 lots right down below it on the same side of the road, he could have come in any way he wanted to before he built that, and even after he built that. Because I didn't shut that right-hand side road off. I let them 2 in the garage drive on half of that road. And I put them a post up there because I'm supposed to have it posted according to the environmental. And I didn't cut you off. You can't cut somebody off, get to their property, if they hadn't got no other way to get to their property except through you, or say through me. You had and still got plenty of room.
Mr. Miller, that this case does not involve whether or not you have blocked an easement or not. This case only involves whether or not you are in compliance with the state law regarding.
What I was trying to explain, his testimony.
Understand. His testimony about the easement and the gate across the easement is not really relevant to the issue that's before the court. So what the jury has to decide is whether or not you did or did not, or were not in compliance with the state law at the time that the sewage was done. So the issue about the easement, I'm just going to tell you, does not really apply. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay, you can forget about it.
You don't talk to him.
Anyway.
You testify, you don't talk to your neighbor.
And to get back to the environmentals there, checked with Clarksville, that I had got a permit to keep spreading up there in Clarksville. There it is. Takes care of one of his statements. And these pictures here, I've got 2 honey wagons out there. And them honey wagons, they hold 1,500 gallons apiece. And I use those to hook my tractor to pull. My truck holds 3,000 gallons. So I use those honey wagons, and that's what they're called, to hook up to my tractor. And they'll suck or blow either one, like my pump truck. My pump truck is too heavy to get on the type of dirt I've got out there. And when that soil scientist, when he surveyed, checked my ground out, would it pass? There's about 3 foot of nothing but topsoil is out there. And most of that ground out there, like where the Clarksville Cafe is, they've called me on numerous times because they have a problem with water being wet right there. And that little dab on ground that he's got, Paul's got out there, when I bought that 100 acres, I took my backhoe out there and I dug every field it was out there on that 100 acres to see if it would perk before I bought it. And I perked your ground, and that's the reason I decided to go ahead and sell it. It wasn't no use to me. And so you got it. And the way my land lays, the way the soil scientists marked it on this map right here, everything is turned away from your ground. Water won't run up here. And that road from the blacktop that me and Gary trade with, and where you see water at there at the bottom is the lowest point of that whole bottom. That's how come it's holding water in them holes. When you get up to the top, them are ruts in the ground, in the road. Sewage is not dumped up there. And I've got 3, 4 holding tanks, concrete holding tanks that hold sewage out there. And the 22nd, the 23rd, and I tried to get a permit. I went through everything you can think of. And I've been pumping out there for about 20 years. Never had a problem with anybody or anything, not even Gary that owned that spot of ground you had. Got. Matter of fact, I don't think you even bought it. I think what your brother or cousin was one.
You can't talk to the people.
But anyway.
You just, Mr. Miller, let me explain something.
Okay.
This trial is not between you and that individual. This trial is between you and the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
The state of Tennessee is not sitting out there in the audience. The state of Tennessee is represented by the district attorney. So when you're trying to say things to a witness who's sitting out in the courtroom, that's not an appropriate way.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not fussing at you. I'm just trying to explain.
Okay.
You just need to tell these folks, those 12 people right there are going to decide whether you did or did not violate the law. Okay. Those are the 12 people that you need to be talking to try to convince them that you didn't violate the law by.
I'm trying to.
Okay. All right.
I'll try to. That ground I've got out there. When the soil scientists came out there, and it was 3 foot deep of nothing but topsoil, not a rock. There wasn't a rock in that field. He said, I've never seen nothing like it. Most of that ground in Steer County ain't nothing but chert and rocks. Y'all know how it is. But them fields had nothing been done except farm for 75 years by Stanley Green and his men. And so nothing but topsoil. And I've owned it going on 30 years. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 receipts of where I paid Kathy's record service to come out there and pull me out of the ground that I was trying to drive my truck to that acre of ground that I was showing you a while ago. And what I had to do was that truck weighs 29,000 pounds empty. If you got 3,000 pounds of sewage on there, that truck's going to weigh about between 65 and 70,000 pounds by itself. And it being hung up, I had to get a little weight off my truck like you would if you had to put some weight or take some weight off of something to move it out of the mud. Because that pulling that dead weight, I had to unload about 300 or 400 pounds or 5 where he could move it out. And there's the receipts, and that was on May the 2023. He says I didn't get no permit. And this one was on August the 3rd. And this one was on the 7th of March. And this one's on July the 10th. And this was on September the 23rd. And that's how many times that he had to come and pull me out. Soil scientists told me, you're not going to be able
You can't repeat what the soil scientists, that's what I was explaining to you earlier.
Yeah.
There's this thing called the hearsay rule, and the rules of evidence don't allow you to tell what somebody else said because that person's not here for the state to cross-examine.
I've got it wrote down, right?
Doesn't matter whether it's wrote down or not. If it's hearsay, it's hearsay. And that means that witness could have been subpoenaed to come into court, but you can't tell what that witness said.
Okay. Anyway, the only way I got a permit was through legal avenues. And I paid on the year of 23. I talked to, he said I didn't, but I did when I asked him about Tiffany. Did he know her? Yeah, that was his secretary. And she sent 2 new people because Clarksville was in charge of checking me out for about 20-something years, since 2008. Every year they'd come down and I'd leave my paperwork in a truck, and they had to fill it out that they checked my land, checked my leaks, and litter at my sewage area, and then they would sign it. And I've got all the copies there. And then they would send it. And the checks, here's a check that I wrote in the February the 1st, $600 for a permit. But I did not get, because they closed that office down in Clarksville. The ones that took care of taking care of my land and my truck for all these years, and no, I was not notified. And so when I finally got a hold of Tiffany, running this one down, that one down, that one down, I was told that Joel over there was the one needed to see. So when I called, I got a hold of Tiffany, his secretary at that time, but they've moved her since then. But I have got her on tape. But anyway, I have got her on paper where she sent 2, and I asked him a while ago, but he told me at the time when I talked to him, he was the only one that was allowed to check my ground or check my pump truck. But he didn't say that a while ago. But anyway, here's a copy where she put down and sent Hutchinson and another girl out there and put my name on there and said that Mr. Miller would like to know when y'all are going to go out there and check his land, his truck, because he wanted to be out there. And so I tried every way that I could. So I sent them a check for $600, and it's checked through the bank, February the 23rd. But I never pumped one in 23, and I did not pump one in 22 because I had those tanks out there for that purpose, because the ground had to be dry enough before I could drive down where you seen that water in the roads going down my land. And when I had to make ruts to get to that 1 acre of ground, because naturally once I started, I made ruts. I couldn't back up. I had to keep on going and try to turn around, because I knew if it was making ruts there, that it would be where I was going to spread at with them honey wagons, that there's no way in the world that I could spread it, plus in the truck, plus I didn't want to put no ruts out there in that smooth field. So I unloaded 400 or 500 gallons to get some weight off there, and got Dale Taylor to bring his loader up there 5 different times in a matter of probably about 2 months apiece, because the ground stayed rainy and wet all that time. I could not unload except fill up my tanks. And the gray stuff that he was talking about is lime. I was ordered to put 40 pounds of lime per 1,000 gallons in my truck. And that's what had to go in there to make the plastic and everything work right with the sewage. And so what you've seen, I've never seen no SHIT ever turn white. And that white was liquid water that was coming out after I washed it out back there in the back with my water hose. I got a tank that holds water. And where they see my truck, if you look, you can see the concrete tanks in a line where I've got a building, the shed back there that honey wagon is in, but you can see in one picture, they moved it over far enough where you can see them concrete tanks. And you can see the slope of the ground, even in the pictures, where it's all going at a certain degree downhill, which the soil scientists, in other words, it falls in with the regulations that you can have a place to dump sewage if it passes regulations. And it does. And I've got the only one in several states that will pass except for Paris. Paris has got one. The environmental is getting so bad, they're just about begging people, if they could, like me, for instance, to spread it. It's better to spread water on ground than it is what they're doing now. The tank up there in Clarksville, it's only used every night, just about every night. The waterways are just, some towns are suing, have already sued, because the water is failing, the rivers. All the sewage is going into the rivers except particles of it. Once they get done with it, then all the water is going into the river, and we're drinking it. What's going on land is the safest place for it to go to. But anyway, I have not done anything against regulations except for abiding by the regulations. I've tried every way in the world to get along with them. I never had no problem with Jeanette. Everybody in the county's had problems with Jeanette, and I have Jeanette. I have too. Jeanette's took me to court 5 times in Nashville to try to get my license. I come back with 5 times with my license. Anyway, Jeanette, I got one from him, a statement after I got that certified letter from the environmentalists from him. He asked me, he said, now, if there's a reason why that you did what you did, you let me know. So I called him. He didn't have to talk. I called him. Anyway, I've done the best I could to do everything right. And y'all are welcome to look at this and look at the footage, how far away this is, and that is, where my line is, and how in the world can water run up the hill where his house is, he sees. And I know where it's at. And it's uphill. This map I've got will show it's uphill.
So does that being uphill have anything to do with whether or not you had a permit?
I've got a permit.
Okay.
I got a permit there, and there's the one that from Clarksville. And here's the check there's the check and date where I paid for the permit. And here is they found this one from his secretary, where she sent these two out there and they never did come. And I called her and she sent them another one. I got so much paperwork. And there's one from Jeanette. Let me find these right here. I paid for the permit. But I never did pump anything out there. And the only reason, and they kept it for $600. Only reason I ain't got one, if you want to see this, where Tiffany sent two out there to check the truck out and check them out, which she works in his office. And I said, they ain't ever went out there and it's got a date on it. And she said, well, I'll try it again. And so she did, and then she put on this one. She said, Sarah, there's one. The other one was a Hutchison. Anyway, she says, I'm sending, let me put my glasses on and make it a little bit easier. Tiffany is Administrative Service Assistant number 8 at Tennessee. She said, final inspection needed. She said, Sarah, to Sarah, Tiffany, and Gary Wrigley. Can you make sure this is added to Sterry County law as well? Sent from my phone on December the 20th, 2023. And she said, oh yeah. And she said, I am sure I'm not sure who's going to be out there first. I copied you both on this. I am also copying the installer as he would like to be called. When you are able to go on out there, he would like to be notified. They never did notify me. And that was on the 20th and then on the 20th of 22nd.
Well, the charge that you are on trial for today is alleged that you violated the regulations on January 19th, 2024 by unlawfully disposing of the sewage in violation of the state statutes without a permit. So that's the date that we're talking about. So you might want to address that date, January 19th of 2024.
The one on the 22nd was for the year of 23. This was on year of 2023. The one, the certified letter he sent me on the 24th has nothing to do with the year of 24. That's what his letter's all about. It's the year of the 23rd. In the year of the 23rd is where Tiffany asked those two to check it, the truck, and they didn't do it. And I called her back.
Well, you heard the indictment being read, and I'm just trying to help you direct what you need to testify about.
Well, I
In the
think I just explained it.
Okay, well, let me explain it to you again. The grand jurors of Stewart County, Tennessee, duly impaneled and sworn upon their oaths to present that on or about January 19th of 2024 in Stewart County, Tennessee, prior to the finding of the indictment, Corbett Miller Jr. then and there did unlawfully engage in the business of removing waste from subsurface sewage disposal system and dispose of such waste in any place or manner that do not meet the approval of the commissioner in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 68-221-406. That's what you're facing today. I know you keep talking about other times.
See where I've got written here? Will was the other inspector. I did not haul or pump out any tanks in 24 or 22, either one.
Okay. Your testimony.
I got those, and the truck would sit out there full until it would dry up enough where I could spread it on my land.
Right.
And that's where the truck sat at.
So your testimony is you did not dispose of any waste on January 19th, 2024, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
I couldn't even get my truck out there.
That's the issue. Do you have anything else that's relevant to that particular issue that you want to tell the jury?
Nothing except my truck just sat there, I couldn't spread it. And what I did spread was some sewage, one sewage that had been in that tank. 3-4 of them was full. And that one, when it dried up enough, but that was pumped like the year prior, like in 21. In other words, I had done pumped that one in 21 and took it out there on my land and pumped it in a tank on my land, but I never spreaded it on the 27th.
All right. General Allen, you have questions for Mr. Miller?
Yeah. Mr. Miller, you've been in the courtroom the whole day, federal lunch, right? Mr. Miller,
Yes.
have you been in the courtroom today and you've heard all the testimony so far?
Yeah, I've heard all of this.
Okay. So did you hear Mr. Worsham from the department, the environmental department, say that you have not been lawfully permitted since 2019?
Yeah, I heard that. You want proof that I was?
So
Wait
in
a minute.
January,
I've got proof that I was, if you want to see.
that's fine. I'll
I'll have to bring my check stubs. They're on there where I wrote the checks.
I just need a copy of the permit, not the checks. The checks don't qualify the permit. So
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I got it. Wait a minute. Got about that, I'm glad you brought that up. Well, I have to look for the month, but no, I've got it. On the 19th.
I think what she's asking you for
This is it.
is, do you,
All of these, I get these when I pay for the permit, like this one right here, Department of Environmental Services, Conservation. I got 6, I got years of them, and this is what it says. When, like this one right here, I received your application dated December the 19th, 2005, as well as your pumpers program fee received by the fees section, indicates your payment of $200. I got every.
That hearing had a little bit of everything. When the court returned from lunch, it was Corbett Miller Jr.'s turn to testify in his own defense, and he wasted no time diving into a detailed account of land ownership, easements, soil quality, and equipment breakdowns. Much of his testimony wandered into background about who bought what acreage decades ago, and how his trucks sometimes had to dump a few hundred gallons just to lighten the load enough to get unstuck, complete with receipts. From a tow service, he argued that the gray or white residue seen in photos was not sewage at all, but lime required by regulation to be mixed into his tanks. He insisted that he had always operated within the rules, pointing to checks written for permit fees and paperwork he believed showed compliance. The judge stepped in repeatedly, reminding him and the jury that what mattered was whether he unlawfully dumped on January 19, 2024, the specific date alleged in the indictment, not the long history of disputes, inspections, or past payments. Eventually, Miller made his key point. He testified flatly that he did not dispose of waste on that January date, that his truck sat full because the ground was too wet to spread, and that the only spreading he'd done was years earlier. On cross-examination, the state pressed him on the fact that official records showed his permit expired in 2019, and that proof of payment alone did not equal a valid permit. Miller maintained he had proof, citing checks and correspondence, though none of it directly addressed the missing 2024 authorization. The tone in court was firm but patient, with the judge carefully steering Miller back on topic and ensuring the jury understood what testimony was relevant. It was a classic contrast: the state's structured case anchored by technical evidence and the defendant's sprawling, self-represented narrative, heavy on personal detail and conviction. If you found this hearing insightful, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and letting me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one.